Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the February 21st Economic Development Authority meeting. Trust that everyone had a good weekend and a good holiday. I know I'm looking forward to later on this week, the temperature is gonna be like 85. That's pretty good. Brian, if you just do the roll call.
Sure. Thank you, Chair, and good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Barber. Here. Ms. Drury.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mrs. Saunders Smith
Here.
and Mrs. Smith.
Here.
Spoon is absent. Chair, we have a quorum.
Good. Everyone should have received the January 17th meeting. I move for a motion to approve if there are no changes to the minutes.
Good morning.
Second.
Motion approved.
Have a
Oh, a vote.
vote. Bear with me just one moment, Chair.
Speed is of the essence.
I shared with the chairman, I do have a flight to catch this morning, so I think he's trying to help me get there. I'll keep it roll now. Mr. Barber.
Aye.
Ms. Drury.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith
Yes.
and Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
The item passes by a vote of 6-0.
At this point, we'll take a look at our financials.
Okay, let's pull that up. And this is as of December 31st. The quarterly report, and your total cash is $8,699,731. And you'll notice under accounts receivable, there's something called lease receivable. And this is a new requirement by governmental accounting standards boards where they really take your future lease stream and present value it back today. And you'll see a comparable entry on the deferred inflow lease. So that's the other side where the present value of what you're going to be remitting to the city. Don't ask me why they calculated it, not being the same exact number, but be that as it may, they're close. And of course, we've got our capital assets that hasn't changed. Land, hotel land and air rights, and our property held for resale. I think we added a little bit to that. Grants payable that you all approved but not yet paid out over the last several years is $185,220. And you'll see the deferred inflow lease. And the net position, we've reserved out the value of the capital land and the potential for North Pier, because those are not something you're spendable right now. And then also the value of the CDBG properties where if you sell it, we've got to remit it back to the city. So unrestricted position of $20,432,869, of course, the majority being in your cash and the assets held for the resale. Moving on to the income statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. Not much has happened. We've got some rental income and we've paid out some contractual services. You'll notice rent on the Portsmouth at Work space. Utilities are the majority of totaling $141,953. Grants approved this fiscal year so far, $90,220. Investment income, $49,852, because all that money you've got sitting in banks, is earning money. So the change in that position was a negative $159,100. You'll see your, I don't think you have it up here. There's the detailed listing of the property held for resale, and there's also a detail on the grants that I think, budget to actual, where there's nothing unusual because not that much has happened so far this year. And I'm gonna, the grants, I think that Brian will go over with you at a later point. Now, I went over it sort of quick, so if there's any questions now or later, We love to hear them.
There are no questions from the commissioners. We'll go to old business.
Okay.
And the first item is the 2023 EDA retreat. We have locked in a date for March 21st. It's going to be almost the entire day from 10 to 4. I must say, we are very, very excited about this retreat. There are a couple of good things on there. First is the presentation on Danville, Virginia, and their revitalization. That's a city that 10 years ago, you would have thought nothing would ever happen there. Now it's one of the great success stories in Virginia. And so it'll be an opportunity for us to listen to some of their best practices, which I think will be really, really good. We're going to be looking at EDA financing capabilities. Should we launch into a major project? What role would EDA have in terms of financing one of those projects? An update on the Innovation District, minority participation, which is something we'll start to draft some language for any potential contracts that we may have where the seller property is over some dollar amount. And then an economic development tour. I think you will be very, very pleased at the land that is available to us and what the potential can be. And I thank all the commissioners for submitting items for the retreat, and I hope everyone will be available for that day. It's going to be a good one. At this point, we can do, if there are no questions, we can do a product update. Done.
Thank you, Chair. Just to recap, we have here on the overhead the properties in the Craddock community that the EDA has recently acquired. That includes the former bank building at 53 Afton Parkway, and then the two properties that were purchased at a tax sale, 60 Afton Parkway and 73 Farragut Street. Just a couple of quick updates as we're working towards getting out an RFP for the revitalization, redevelopment of these properties. We have had a few expenses related to that process, primarily 73 Farragut Street. We are in the process of having an environmental inspection performed to identify any environmental issues that need to be considered as we move forward with a planned demolition. And they're actually out there this week conducting that, checking for things such as asbestos, lead paint, et cetera, that we will need to permit for as part of the demolition process. I did also have to spend a little bit of your money to have a door installed to the building. It was secured to the point that we were not able to access it, so we did have to have a door installed. That was about $850, so that we can now get in and inspect, and then ultimately assess the full condition of the property. We will also be contracting to have a demolition plan prepared to remove the warehouse property. It's really in terrible shape and needs to come down. And that'll help with facilitating the RFP process. There will be a need to obtain a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Preservation Commission. So we're targeting April for that if all things go according to plan. And then ultimately proceeding with a invitation for bids for demolition in May. All of this, again, with the hopes of being in a position to put out an RFP this spring. So a very kind of tight timeline here, but we're making some headway getting towards doing so. That, I think, covers everything with respect to Craddock. We are still looking at some additional acquisitions that we are really just kind of waiting on a few things for, and really can bring those back to you.
Any questions? Trying to continue with the business investment grant program.
Yes, quick update on the FY22 business investment grant. This is the last year's round. We had, again, a total of 56 grants that the EDA awarded. You can see the breakdown here. The majority of those, of course, were your Smart Start Business Development Grant awards, which were for those new startups and entrepreneur businesses that were really just launching, getting off the ground here. So you can see the numbers there. We are still in the process of closing out the FY 22 round. We have 3 grants that are still open. They're real estate grants. They were extended through March. They're listed here on the overhead. I don't expect you to be able to read this. The information is in your financial report, however. But we have 3 grants we're in the process of closing out and paying out. In fact, we have just completed inspections for those, so we're reviewing receipts and we'll be dispersing funds here fairly soon by the March timeframe.
Can I ask a question on these? And I think we brought it up before, and I know it's probably the staffing isn't enough to be able to do this, but at some point, can we be able to have where we can go back and see, like, you know, are these businesses still in business? Are they, you know, where are they? Have they expanded any? Just so that we know, you know, and then I think it'll help us make decisions as we're giving money to know that our money, you know, did go and worked. I think that's the main thing, to see that our money worked.
Yeah, so we're in the process of doing that. You had requested.
I know.
The last meeting, and we were waiting for the calendar year to close out so that we could go back and get a year-over-year assessment of where those businesses that were held last year. So we're actually going to reach out to the Commissioner of Revenue's office and get a report on the 56 grants that were awarded, just to check on their status.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. We'll shift to new business. Again, with Brian on the 23 Business Investment Grant Program update.
So we have entered our second round for FY 23. We included both the first round and second round information here on the slide for you. We had a total of 12 grants awarded this past October. You can see the breakdown here between the real estate investment grants. We had 5, our business development grant at 5 awards, and then the acceleration grant at 2 for a total of 12 awards again. We just closed the second round as of the 31st of January. You can see a pretty significant uptick in activity. We had 24 applications come in. We are in the process of reviewing those. You will have a few of those for consideration this morning. But you can see the breakdown here is, again, consistent with what we've seen in prior rounds. 10 real estate investment grants, 11 of the business development grants, and then 3 of the acceleration grants. These are all under review. We would expect to have them awarded here by the close of the month, pending everything being complete. And this is just a report that was also included in your financials, documenting those applications that were awarded in the last round. And as we move forward with our review of the current round, we will be including them in the report as well. Happy to answer any questions or expand on any of these items. And again, we will have, I believe, 3 applications for consideration for you this month.
Brian, is the portal up and running at this point?
It's actually closed now. We have shifted to an online application process. So it was open during the month of January while we were accepting applications. So anyone who was interested could go on, view the materials, submit an application, and we've received that electronically and then processed it. But the actual portal itself has closed. You're still able to get onto the website and view the application guidelines, et cetera, but you cannot physically actually submit them.
And is that streamlining workflow?
Absolutely. Ms. Tracy is the one shaking her head yes. She's been responsible for the majority of the review. And I think it's really helped to have a defined process with deadlines that need to be met when you submit an application. So yes, it's helped tremendously.
And so just one last question. So if I do an online application, will I be able to go into the system and see if it's been approved or declined or know where it is in the process?
No, unfortunately, we don't have it set up that way. When I received the application, I immediately put it in Salesforce. So the applicant does get an email stating that their application is under review, and then I'm in constant communication with them as I move through the process, have any questions, and any additional documentation and issue.
Did we get a copy of this one? I didn't see this in the packet.
There should have been a FY 23 report in the packet in addition to your FY 22. And it would have been included as part of your financial report.
I might, I'm not talking since I started working at finances. Okay,
I think the last page of your financial
Okay.
report, it would have been at the back,
okay, thank you.
which is actually printed on your potato sheet this morning. as well. If you have any specific questions about any of the individual applications, you can certainly discuss those offline.
Just one last question. I know in the past, people were being turned down because of their failure to complete the form correctly or missing certain things like the business license. Have you seen any improvement in that area in terms of the accuracy of the input?
Yeah, incredibly, actually, I only had one application that didn't come in complete.
Thank you. At this point, Tracy will talk to you about the 23 investment grants up for consideration.
We have 3 applications today that we'd like to review with you. The first application is for a property located right across the street at 215 High Street. This is Dominion Drones Tech Company. The applicant may look familiar. I would submit an application for the October 2022 round. He is requesting the remainder of the $25,000 for a total of $17,054.22. The scope of work for the application is an HVAC replacement, as you, and I'll show you photos as well. He's also looking to do interior flooring, a couple of roof improvements, and exterior door replacement. The total project cost this go around will be $41,993. Give you visuals. In the last grant application, one of the projects he requested was awning replacement, which they have completed. So I wanted to update you with a photo of that. And this is the HVAC unit that he's looking to have replaced, as well as one of the exterior doors and the interior flooring. The second application. This will be at 3300 High Street, Suite 6A. It's located near Maryview Hospital. The applicant is Life's Journey LLC. They are a mental health services company that is doing an expansion of their Norfolk location. Give you an idea what kind of services they offer: individual, group, and family counseling, substance abuse treatment, and other wellness services. They are doing a complete interior renovation. They'll be doing framing, drywall, roofing, flooring, paint, interior and exterior doors, replacement of windows, an entire HVAC system, electrical and plumbing. Their total project cost is $678,734, and they're requesting a full $25,000. This is the current exterior of the building, and they had already started their demolition, so that wasn't included in the application, but the interior build out is. They'll mainly be doing office space as well as treatment rooms. Third application today is for 5911 Portsmouth Boulevard. The applicant is the ELOM Organization LLC. They are the owner and will be the contractor as well. The scope of work they'd like to complete is an addition of a 16-foot by 26-foot structure to the rear of the building. They'll be putting a roof on it, as well as doing drywall, paint, flooring, and electrical. The total project cost of $51,200, and they're requesting a full grant reimbursement of $25,000. They had already begun an interior and exterior renovation of this building. You may be familiar with it. And I included the photo to the right of Hermosa Studios so that you can see what the vanilla shell in the addition will look like. Mr. Elon confirmed that all of the suites in here will be that way, and they already have a tenant under a lease contract. There will also be another hair salon.
Can you go back to the one before?
Who's that?
Yeah, is that the not a chiropractor? It's,
There were multiple.
I believe this, was formerly a on-site board.
Some of the podiatrist.
okay,
You-
yeah, well, I've been there for my back, so
Yeah,
that's why I'm
I-
wondering. I don't even know how to describe it. When my back went out, I was there. Okay, because it looks very different from the High Street side. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was thinking the right place. Okay. So did they gut it?
They did.
Ah,
They took it down to,
That's so.
okay,
they provided me with about 10 photos that all look like this.
yeah, okay, yeah, they gutted it, okay.
So anybody could come and ask at any time. These just become reviewed at a certain time for a request for the reimbursement. So if somebody did their work and decided to do this, say like this month, they could come in any time and request as long as they have the dollars or the receipts to show to be able to qualify for the 25,000, the match, or.
Actually, be contrary to that, what they would need to do would be to come to us beforehand to get approval prior to the work being completed. So any of the work that you're seeing, that's been completed to date, for instance, 3300 High Street demolition work, any preparatory work for what they're planning to do in terms of improvements would not be eligible. So if it's completed prior to applying, you can't get credit for that. It's
Okay.
just anything from the point of application and award on. And it is reimbursement to your question, the second half of that. They would need to document, the cost, and then we would reimburse them at 50%.
Okay.
But they would have to get approval through the EDA prior to starting the work.
Is it more because you could see it as a before or after project? That way nobody could come and say, I did this work when the work was really already done, to say, kind of on the bandwagon behind. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Just-
And document it and have that paper trail of, reviewing their
For
cost.
improvements.
Mhm.
Who actually does the compliance?
I'm sorry, Councilman.
Who follows up on the compliance as far as looking at the receipts and seeing if it corresponds with what their pro forma was?
Yes, staff. So we review on completion and do in cases where a permit is required. We require a certificate of occupancy to be issued as evidence of being completed. And then staff reviews their receipts, their payments against their original scope of work that they were approved for funding for. So we do a comparison between the two, and then, reimburse 50% of what their actual cost is following its being incurred.
Well, what if their expenditure, they projected they were gonna put 50,000 into the project and the receipts only come up to 25? How does that affect their grant application, their request?
The award amount would be less, so it would only be 50%.
Less by 50%?
They get 50%.
It's matching, correct?
Right.
Of the expenditure.
It's a matching.
Right.
Yes.
So it corresponds with their expenditures.
Right, so if they spend less,
Their expenditures.
yes,
Okay,
if they spend less, their award is ultimately going to be less. And
okay.
what we've been witnessing here over the last couple of years is the actual cost is going up from the time that they've submitted because of material costs, labor costs, contracting expenses. So we've actually seen the cost expenditures going up traditionally, but there is the possibility that somebody would come in under budget and we would adjust our award based on that.
Yeah, can we do one motion to approve all the grants or if they go individually?
You can do one motion if there are no questions or concerns about any of them. If there are any questions or concerns, then I'd separate them out. But one motion is fine if everybody's on board with all of them.
Given that information, are there any questions or concerns in regards to the grants we discussed? Being none, can we move for a motion to approve all of the grants at 215 High Street, 3300 High Street, and 5911 Portsmouth Boulevard?
I move that we accept the report and, and invest in the 215 High Street, 3300 High Street, and 5911 Portsmouth Boulevard.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Saunders-Smith and Mr. Brown. Chair, I will read the roll. I would like to recognize that Commissioner Boone has joined us as well this morning. And I'll proceed with reading the roll. Mr. Barber.
Aye.
Ms. Drury.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders-Smith.
Yes.
And Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
And Ms. Boone.
Yes.
Chair, the item is adopted by a unanimous vote of 7-0.
At this time, we'll move to the fiscal 24 budget committee update from Ms. Drury.
So Ms. Saunders-Smith and Mr. Donahue and I met Thursday of last week and really had a more of a big overview, conversation on the budget. And of course, it's interesting looking at it because I'm one who does 3 years as looking because 1 year does not make a trend. But with COVID, of course, it's really, trying to take that and see where we are. And the big thing really is more of where we're going. And I think we all felt that, especially with the environment, with where we are in Portsmouth right now with city council, that it's a good environment for us to really be thinking ahead and maybe be a little brave. So we're looking at, it will be presented really at the April meeting to everybody. So Teresa and I sat down and we made some suggestions, ideas, and also asked Brian to do some research on some things for us to then come back, meet again with some definite more dollars. But really our idea was the momentum is now. So that was really driving us. A lot of it also was looking at the economic development grants. I'll just go through. Right now, and like the sale of land, of course, we know it's down. We could look at the financial and see that it's been down, but there is a lot out there. So Brian is going to go back and really get a more definitive number for us on how much we think we're going to sell this year. And the other big things were, one, increasing training and travel some. We know that a lot of the conferences that would be beneficial to us on the board weren't held in the last few years, and we think that's important. I think, Mr. Brown, you went to one this year, but we want to get out more so that we can learn from others. Like Danville is a great example of us learning and seeing. So increasing that, and also that includes the local luncheons, where we're out listening and meeting others to discuss. Not a huge increase, but just putting some more money into that. Workforce development, the money that we put into that, Brian felt that keeping it the same would work. We know that that's been a big push for us on making sure that the workforce development next door is getting enough money, that we're training our citizens to be able to go out and move forward. I think we all know that if we needed to put more money into that, I think we'd be willing, but he feels that where we are, it is a good number. And if they did need to come back, then they would. But for right now, we're pretty good on that. One of the big discussions was adding money to improve the lands and the buildings that we own already. And so that's one thing Mr. Donahue's going to look at, but that was a big thing to us because when we own these lands and we're leasing them, that's reflective of us. But also we know that we're trying to sell them. So we need to make sure that they look good, that, they're functioning and that we're playing our role within the city. I mean, we're not talking about so much money, but we're talking about, you know, we need to do our part in it. Like the shiny computer building was one. We've talked about that one before and, what that building looks like. So, that was one thing that Teresa and I were really pushing on, is to make sure that the lands we are buying or that we own are up to par. And also they're ready to be put on the market. So they're gonna get the highest price when we do sell them. Is there anything else, Teresa, that
The only other thing we discussed was, looking at how we can either invest in existing businesses. We talked about, our focus obviously is on new business, but we want to have an ability to help the existing businesses. We're not sure yet because Brian is going to check to see if that just requires some criteria change or, what we need to do to get that into the budget.
Yeah, that was a big thing on not just bringing in the new business, but helping our existing ones. And so as we know, in our programs, there is a criteria for, I think it's 30% increase. And that is a big sticking point for some of our businesses. And so that's what Brian's gonna look into is, do we change the criteria or do we put in a whole new budget line? So, but we think that is important so that our existing businesses, we want them to stay. We want them to flourish. We want them to be successful. So we want to make sure that we're helping them also.
Good. Any additional questions?
I just want to say, make a comment. I want to piggyback a little bit on what Teresa was saying and supporting the existing businesses, because I do feel like the toll on the tunnel has had an impact on some of our existing businesses. And so some of them may need some help here and there. So I think that's an excellent idea to look into.
Good. Thank you for that update. At this point, we're going to talk a little bit about the public empowerment forums. So I had an opportunity to see Brian on YouTube the other day, as well as city manager and other people. Looking good.
Turned out really nice. Brian represented well, didn't
That's
he?
good. That's good to hear. I have not yet seen that, so.
Oh, you have?
No, I hadn't seen that.
Great.
Thank you. Track that down and view that. But yes, we did want to just share that the city manager and council do have a number of citizen forums that are scheduled during the month of March, and you can see the dates for those are here on the screen with the meeting and location information, but those are March 2nd, March 16th, and March 30th, I believe. But Madam City Manager is here, so I don't want to speak on her behalf if she has any information she'd like to share, but I do hope to see you all there participating if available. But Madam City Manager.
I had an opportunity to look at the videos on Friday and I did forward them to council members with hopes that they had an opportunity to not look at them right now as well. It really, I was very excited when I saw the result of them because basically it definitely is giving what I envisioned. Giving information to citizens so they would be aware of what is really happening in Portsmouth. Because people think because we don't scream our own story or our accomplishments from the top, they think nothing is happening in Portsmouth, and things are constantly moving and happening in Portsmouth. And what I will like to say to Ms. Jury, I'm going to use your tag, the momentum is now. I think that's great. And so I just want to encourage everyone to go to the city website and take a look at them because it does represent the city very well and in good light. I think it's time for us to tell our own story. It's time for us to change the stigma of what Portsmouth is. It's time for people to see what and who we really are and what we actually have and what we continue to do to provide services and movement in Portsmouth. So if you have a chance, please visit the website. If you have an opportunity to go to the forums, please attend. Register, not that you have to, but in case you have something that you want to say or talk about or discuss. And then the topics that are outlined or that are on the website, one of the reasons we did that, because that gives us the opportunity to see the traction, because it tells us what people are really interested in based on how they view it, the views that it hits. Public safety, of course, was so far, when I looked on Friday evening, one of the hot topics. Economic development, and people just really want to see what's going on in Portsmouth. So I encourage you all to take a look and even participate. Again, you don't have to go to each one. The other reason I did this is because I figured there are some topics that you want to know about. So I didn't want to drag you through an entire meeting for something you didn't want to hear about. But you would be interested in dedicating yourself to the one that would serve your purpose of what you wanted to hear going on in Portsmouth.
Can I make a comment on that?
Mhm.
I'm that person who reads every page of the newspaper. And so I did see the listing with the advertisement for this, and I cut it out but the way it was made it sound like it was the same. It didn't have the discussions, and I know that's also size, but because I was thinking, oh, I can't go to that one, but I'll go to that one. But now I'm like, oh my God, I want to go to that one.
So we did a full presentation on the 14th, Valentine's Day, where we were all working on Love Day. So if you want to go back to the website and see the council meeting at 5 o'clock, the public work session, Peter Gagola is the marketing director, and he went into detail about it as well. But Councilman Moody made a suggestion that we run it in the paper a couple of times.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that we were doing as well. So even though you may have seen the first iteration of it, it should have been additional.
Okay.
But the 5 o'clock public work session was definitely very informative.
Okay.
It told you everything you wanted to know about it.
Okay. No, I'll go to them. I just was thinking, for some reason, the way that the ad was, or the thing, it was like, oh, it's discussing the budget. So it really, it did make me think it was this, which this is like, oh my God, this is great. So
maybe with that suggestion, I'll just talk to Peter and see what it is that he has and if we can run it. Again, it's
Okay.
paper, it's news.
Right.
We'll put,
And not everybody reads it, I know.
yeah, but my mama watches the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news.
Yes.
So we'll make sure we run it on the news as much. And it's really interesting how the news is quick to capture anything, but when it's positive, you can't find it. So.
And I also, just real quick, and I know you're really gotta go. Neil and I were just talking at the beginning about what you just said with Danville. I have friends there, and I know that before all the good happened and the changes, one of the biggest things with them was the citizens of Danville put themselves down all the time and put down the city of Danville, like it's the worst place ever. And I was like, oh, that's us.
Yeah.
So one of
It
the
is.
things with the leaders there was to change the thought process and to get people excited and get them in. So that was part of Danville's success, was to bring in the citizens. And so like, this is great, because that was a big part of Danville, and it's totally changed. If you talk to the people there now, they're so proud. It's totally different from what it was before. But before, it was just really like we are right now.
And you're absolutely right, because one of the things, it starts in your community. So I'm actually having lunches once a month with community leaders, or I should say civic league organizations, because your civic league organization should be your voice of your community, and they should be more active. And some are active and some are beyond active, but then you have some that are kind of lingering in the back. So we want to bring them all to the forefront so we can hear the same things. And it gives me an opportunity to hear what they have to say. It's not just me. I need to know what the challenges are in the community, because the community is your eyes and ears. So hopefully we will be able to do what Danville did and kind of change some things and shift thinking.
Will the forums be taped, and second, will you be able to ask questions remotely?
Absolutely. Well, remotely, how about that? But it will be taped. People who register, we will have it set up where they will be able to come to the microphone and talk. Your subject matter expert, based on the date or what we have the subject matter with, will be able to answer those questions. But we had not opened, well, to my knowledge, we hadn't opened up a remote because it was more, we wanted people to come, but, you know, that's a suggestion I'll take under consideration. I hadn't thought about that at all, to be honest. But it will be taped. Media will be there as well.
I like it.
That's
A win-win.
exciting.
Yeah, it is.
No further questions. Neil, will you take us into our
Sure.
closed meeting?
I move to go in closed meeting pursuant to code section 2.2-3711 A dot 3 for the purpose of discussing acquisition and disposal of real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. Specifically regarding strategic acquisitions, the acquisition of 1028 High Street, 400 Patton Street, and 1013 through 1015 Queen Street, and the disposition of 625 High Street.
1625. 1625.
Yeah, 1625.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. I think we need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Saunders Smith. I will read the roll. Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
and Ms. Boone.
Yes.
Here, the item is adopted by unanimous vote. We're now in closed meeting.
I hereby move that each commissioner certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded. Certified.
We have a motion. We're in need of a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. I will read the roll. Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
and Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
and Ms. Boone.
Yes.
Item is adopted. We are back in open meeting.
You want a motion for both of them, Jeff?
I think it's just the one.
Yeah, well, it-
Resolution, I believe it's all inclusive there. It's listed on the
Yeah,
agenda.
it's true.
Yeah.
Another resolution, yeah.
We have a motion for the adoption of the resolution for.
A second.
And I just want to note that the resolution was included in the agenda package that was distributed on Friday, so did go out. Motion by Mr. Barber and a second by Mr. Brown. I will leave the roll. Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
and Ms. Boone.
Yes.
Chair, the item is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
At this point, any items submitted by board members?
I know it was 2 years ago that I went through the FOIA training. I know that everybody loves to do that, but I think there's a requirement in law that we do it every 2 years, and I haven't seen any notification come out to go through that again.
And we thank you for bringing me out.
Thank you, Neil.
Mr. Miller and Ms. Schwerin are very excited about the.
You took the words out of my mouth.
I knew that would be the hit.
But we do appreciate bringing that to our attention, Mr. Barber, and we will look at that and the need for,
We'll speak with the clerk's office.
yeah, seeing what was done last and figure out what needs to happen there.
One question for our city council members. I think we all saw with delight the 500 plus in tax revenue that came from the casino, and just curious what your thoughts were in terms of if that's going to be a game changer for the city or going forward.
Well, I think the odds are that it's going to live up to its projections. You know, the great thing about it is no competition. Everything I hear, the Norfolk deal is struggling, if not derailed. So I think we've got a winner there. We look forward to seeing more numbers and getting I think the payout, Jeff's on an annualized basis. Is that correct?
As far as when the state sends us the money?
Yes.
I'm not
Is
sure
it
that.
quarterly or
I
annual?
think it's quarterly.
Okay, I was thinking it was annual. That's even better.
Yeah.
So, you know, the feedback that I get from the restaurants there has been very positive. Even from, I know people that don't gamble, that went there on Valentine's Day and spoke very highly of the restaurants there. So I think the feedback is good. You know, social media takes an altercation that I understand one of them wasn't even here, it was up north. And it lives forever on social media, but I think that's been the exception. And I'm hearing good comments. What are y'all hearing?
Well, I've been to the restaurant several times and I think they're excellent. I've enjoyed. And I think the city as a whole is very excited about it because I know there's a citizen group that is going out, I think in middle of March to do cleanup on Victory Boulevard and clean all that area up because they wanted to present well.
Yes.
So, you know, I think
That's
all that's
amazing. Very
important.
awesome.
I'm looking forward to some of the other things, the hotel, obviously, and so the other restaurant that's going to open there was a Yard House.
Oh,
Yard House.
wow.
I think that's going to be well received. So it's, I think we have a good group. I think Mr. Bloom and his company are certainly responsive, and the general manager there, Roy, has certainly been responsive to feedback and communication. So I think I'm very pleased with the results thus far.
Yeah.
How about you, Vernon?
I agree. I think that the projection, I think we're gonna be on track for what we're projecting to receive, which is phenomenal. I would love to really see that area to have supporting economic development that's not only gonna sustain future revenue, but to sustain the casino. If you just put the casino out here and we leave it here, you know, it may not survive past 10 years.
Yeah.
But if we can bring, really build up that entertainment district of what they're kind of called Missy Elliott Boulevard, I think that would be phenomenal. Hotels, restaurants, and really just build that corridor up. I've been out there quite a few times, gone many times throughout the day. I've gone, well, not too many times during the day, because I work, but I've gone 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's still packed. It's incredible to see the people flocking to Portsmouth this way. It's not the cheapest place to eat. So that's why I think we should bring some more development outside of it. And I think we'll see even more people come then. I was talking to some seniors that were there, and, you know, they spent a couple hours there, but we're hungry and they're not going to pay $20 for, you know, chicken.
And are
So-
the restaurants open all night since people are there all
Not
night?
anymore.
No,
Oh, my God.
I think the
2 o'clock.
yeah, 2 or 3 o'clock. They close.
Yeah, 2 o'clock's the cutoff now, which I think makes sense. I do think we talked about the casino hotel. I do think that area, I can see Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, locating on that corridor. And what that'll do, I think that will secure the success of the hotel. Because when you come from out of the area, typically, if you're gonna stay in a hotel, you're gonna go to the casino more often. And instead of a day trip, end up being a 2-dayer or a 3-dayer, or even a week. And I think we need to use the casino that, hey, we know you come into the casino, but there are other things to do in Portsmouth and the region. So I think we need to be holistic when we market the casino and other things to do in Portsmouth.
Good. There are no further questions. Thank everyone for your participation, and this meeting is now.
Just, if I could just interrupt before you drop to close, I do appreciate you getting everybody out of time this morning, Chairman, but I did want to make an introduction. I don't believe we had an opportunity to share this news with you at your January meeting, but we do have a new team member that has joined our team since you met last. That's Sheree Dozier. She's our new administrative coordinator. We're really excited to have her on board. Probably have heard from her already. If you haven't, you will, I'm sure, in the future. And she is a fantastic addition to the team, and we're excited to have her on board. If you need to reach out, it's a good point of contact for the department. So just wanted to make that introduction. We are still focusing on staffing up. We have a number of other positions that are open right now. And we'll be looking to hire for here very soon. We're in the process of looking to staff our workforce development office at work. So we should have a update there pretty soon as well. But just wanted to share that change in the staffing. Thank you, sir.
There are no further questions of February 21 meeting.